Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Sam from On Tabletop, and I'm really excited about today's interview. Okay, so we are joined by our old friends, James and Sophie from Needy Cat Games.
Hello.
And beside them, we have the writer George Mann.
Hi, thanks for having me here.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming on board. Now, some of you might already know George, but I'll leave it to you all to make your big announcement, as it were, if we want to just get that out of the way right off the bat.
So should we say what we're doing?
Yeah,
Go on, George.
We're going to make a board game using the Newbury Hobbes characters and setting from my books.
Yeah.
Yay!
And this is the first time we kind of said it out loud on camera. This is This is a big moment for us.
Yeah.
Really is.
When I got the email about this, I was really excited. I went off, I did a bit of research. I'll admit, I hadn't come across Newbury and Hobbes before. I'd seen the books in the store, but I hadn't read them. But as soon as I did my research for this interview, I immediately ordered myself book one in the series.
You're in for a treat. They're a cracking read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that because George is holding it up.
I've got a gun to him just here.
Let's just get a brief introduction of you all for those who don't know you. First, James, Sophie, if you want to start off.
So James and I are Needy Cat Games. Needy Cat Games is a small games design studio based in Nottingham. Most recently, we've worked on Hellboy, the board game, which was an amazing experience, really great fun. We've also got some other things in the pipeline that we can't quite talk about yet. It's been a great 18 months so far with Needy Cat Games.
So I'm James. Hello. Some of your viewers might know me. I've been on the show a few times in the past. I used to be Mantic's community manager, so I came and did the Dreadball Academy series with you guys a while back, and some Kings of War videos with Justin. This is what we've been doing, as Sophie says, for the last 18 months. Also, I'm working on a game called Rowley's Rule with Mark Gibbons. I think we spoke about that Spiel. That's still happening. It's on the boiler. This is our first game as Needy Cat Games completely, that we're doing kind of off our own back, that we've not been approached by someone else to do. So this is very exciting.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm George Mann. I'm a writer. I've been writing Newbury and Hobbes books for 10 years now. So we're just celebrating the 10th anniversary of the first book in the series. Also, I've written for Doctor Who. Just announced a Star Wars book recently.
Just a couple of little things.
Just a couple of things. About 30 books down the line now, and I've been writing professionally for 10 years.
As someone who wants to break into professional writing myself, I am seething with jealousy on this end right now.
Keep going.
Thanks. Okay, so George, can you tell us a bit about Newbury and Hobbes? How many books are in the series? What kind of books are they? Okay,
so there's 4 novels already out, and a 5th one comes out next week, actually.
So when this goes out, this might already.
So when this goes out, there's a new book that's hit this week.
There you go, 2 announcements.
As well as a comic book series and a bunch of other stuff. And Newbury and Hobbes, it's a mystery series, really, essentially, setting an alternative version of Victorian London. So it's 1902, and in the real world, in our real history, Victoria would have died, but in Newbury and Hobbes' London, Victoria's being kept alive on a kind of steampunkish life support throne, and she's going slowly mad, basically. And Newbury works for her. So it's a universe where there's kind of the occult means something. So there's occult and supernatural threats. There's kind of weird technological threats as well, from a kind of steampunky sort of theme. And Newbury and Veronica are there as a kind of first line of defence, and they work for the Queen. But they're slowly realising that she is going bonkers, and perhaps they're working for the bad guys. So that's kind of the ongoing theme of the books and comics.
I absolutely love that mix of the steampunk and the supernatural. That's the focus I really like.
Yeah, it's very much kind of, when I started writing the first book, I was just trying to draw on all the things that I love, basically. It was sort of a kind of melting pot of Doctor Who, Steed and Peel from the Avengers, Sherlock Holmes, and Hammer Horror, and that's kind of that's where it comes from, really, with a bit of folklore mythology.
That's a hell of a mixing pot.
It's funny that you mention Stephen Peel. I've seen I was looking through some of the comic images, and I can really see that now you mention that.
Yeah, it's there a real influence. mainly from that kind of A, the quirky side of those stories, and B, the just the dynamic between the two characters. It was really obvious that Emma Peel isn't just an assistant to Steed. She's you know, she's a fully formed character in her own right, and that's really what I wanted to do with Veronica as well.
Yeah. I just realised as I said that I said Stephen Peel rather than Steeden Peel. I have lost major geek creds. It's been a long time.
We'll just pretend it never happened.
Yeah, never happened. For those of you who haven't watched the original Avengers show, I really recommend it if you like.
Maybe skip the film.
Yeah. Oh,
skip the modern film.
That's another thing that never happened.
Absolutely, yeah.
Go back to the Steed and Peel, the black and white box set. The first one is brilliant.
So, how did you first come to be writing this series? How did you find yourself writing that first book and then realizing, oh, I've got a series on my hands here?
Well, I was really lucky, to be honest. I wanted to be a professional writer for a long time and publish books, and I'd done some non-fiction, and I'd done a small press novella, science fiction one, and I wanted to write a big epic space opera, largely because that's what I was reading, and I thought that's what's going to sell, that's what publishers want. So I kind of used to sit at my computer around work, you know, I was in full-time work, and try and write this book, and it just kept failing over and over again. I'd get to chapter 7 and it would just fall apart.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who worked for Waterstone said to me, look, just write something for you. Remind yourself why you like writing. Don't worry about whether it's going to get published. And I kind of thought, well, that's a great idea. I need to do that. So that's where all these influences came in. And I just thought, I'm just going to tell a story for me. And I got started writing, and I managed to break the chapter 7 curse, and I just kept going. And I got about halfway through the first book, and I sent it to my friend Michael and said, look, it's worked. Thank you. And what I didn't know is that because he was working at Waterstones, he's plugged into all these publishers, and he sent it to a publisher to show them. And like the first thing I heard of it was I got a message from the publisher saying, we read the first half of the book. If you finish it, we'll buy that and a sequel.
And you'd not been pitched.
No, it had been pitched to them.
Oh, wow.
Michael was just, and it was a small publisher in the UK who picked it up, and they put the first book out. And on the back of that, I had a bidding war in America for the book, so I ended up going to a really big publisher in America, who then committed to a series, and it's just gone from there. Really, it's just, you know. And I've written all the books in the Newbury Hobbes series, and there's another series as well, Tales of the Ghost, which are set in the same universe 25 years later. So overall, there's 12 books currently that are in this kind of alternate universe.
Are we calling it Maniverse? Is that...
I call it the Albion mythos.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
The Maniverse, yeah. I like that.
The Albion mythos. That's a great name for it.
Yeah.
And of course, now it's gone from novels to comic books and now to the board game. How did that come about? How did you all get together and start working on this?
Yeah. Well, I think what happened originally was that we actually had someone approach us who wanted to make the game and said, "Oh, I'd really like to make the Newbury Hobbes board game," and we were really, really excited about the opportunity.
And they approached us and George
separately.
And we started talking about it, but then it transpired that they had some other things in their schedule and they couldn't quite fit it in, and they had other priorities. And we were absolutely, fair enough. These things happen. You have these sort of pitch meetings and you chat about things, and then quite a lot of the time they don't happen. So, we moved on. But the longer we thought about it, the more we got excited about it. And we were just like, oh, I really want to do that game. So then we ended up talking to George directly, and we were just like, do you want to just have a go at doing it as us?
Do a joint venture.
Yeah.
And we've known each other for quite a while anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the big draws of working on the project was, we know each other.
Together,
yeah, exactly. And so we thought, we've got enough, connections and links around the industry. We probably can, make this happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah. Well, it was always a long-term goal for us. I think Needy Cat Games has always been with our eyes on, in the distant future was, one day we'll be able to make games for ourselves. But this was just such a great opportunity that we've kind of not given it up. We really want to make
We've got
sure
the bit between our teeth. I mean, I've always been a gamer and love board games. I've always wanted to be involved in board games, and I love telling stories in different forms. Yeah. And I'm sure that's something we'll talk about in a while. But this was an opportunity to do that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a bit kind of just this interesting, series of events which has ended up, being a real opportunity for us. So really excited.
the game itself, how does it play out? What sort of game can we expect to see?
Yeah, shall I field this one?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So we don't want to say too much yet. We've got like a whole promotion plan. We're going to drip things out so people can get to see what's happening as we go along. But to give you a real sort of rough top-down view, it's an investigative, narrative-based game with kind of branching narratives. So you will make choices within the game. You're playing as a core set of investigators. Yeah, Newbury, Hobbes, Bainbridge, various characters from the series. And you will go through, you will be investigating leads, following clues, working on one large kind of investigation over the course of the game in a campaign mode kind of thing, broken down into individual chapters, like a novel, each one of which has its own, mini investigation going on within it. So it's very much like reading a book. The difference is that you have choices, and your choices will matter. That everything you do will have a consequence.
Yeah.
You might choose to follow a certain lead, which will close down other leads, and then as well as that, because of kind of our background, we thought it'd be really cool to introduce, as well as just the core narrative, an element of like a tactical miniatures game. So there'll be certain points where, having gone around and followed various leads, you will suddenly go, right, now there's an action scene. It might be a chase or a stealth scene or a fight, because there's a good few punch-ups.
Well, I think that reflects the books really well, though, because the books are a really beautiful blend of sort of investigation and doing all the sort of the slow stuff, and then it will suddenly go to an action scene. And we've tried to reflect that in the game, which means that you move onto a board and you have board pieces, and that action will be reflected in the board, and then it will go back to the narrative. And what's really exciting about that as well is that George is going to be writing all of the narrative for the game. So
this isn't, I think it's quite a rarity when you use at the moment. There are so many licensed board games out there, so many games that are working within an established IP, but they're just kind of borrowing from it. Whereas here, because George is completely on board and collaborating on this is a canonical entry in the series. This is new stuff.
Yeah, it's a brand new story that takes place within the world of Newbury and Hobbes, and we're even going as far as introducing a new character in the game, who will feature in later stories as well. Yeah. So it's a proper installment.
And I love that. That to me is so exciting. I mean, I'm a big fan of I love anything where you get to play with an IP in a different way. Back when the Matrix movies were out, there was a whole series of like a video game, a set of graphic novels. They all fed into the main continuity.
Yeah.
And when you then watch the later movies, you're like, oh, hang on, that's the character from that thing. Yeah. And that's what we're doing here, and that's really exciting.
Yeah. And I think what's really exciting is that we get to play with the canonical sort of story as well, because you're going to be able to make decisions throughout the game, and you're going to be able to choose which way you go. Do you chase that person, or do you investigate what they left behind? That will then mean that your journey through that story might be different to what the canonical story is.
Yeah. So there'll be a through line thread, which is what happens in the world of Newbury and Hobbes. Yeah. But of course, you might go off that path and tell a different version of the story.
Yeah.
It's a whole kind of what if situation, which is great. I think it really treads that really interesting line between it's a narrative which we're telling, but also the players get to have their own say on what happens, and that's it's really exciting.
Absolutely.
Having that level of, I suppose, official involvement with it just makes the game feel so much more impactful with the world you're creating there. So in terms of, George, you writing the background for this for this game, how did you go about that? How did you approach that? How did the gameplay shape your writing, or how did your writing shape the gameplay?
Well, it's still in process, to be honest, because we're still working on all of those elements and refining the story. But essentially, this definitely wasn't a case of me going, right, guys, here's a storyline for you, go and write a game of it. It's been a proper collaboration. So I've kind of set up this is what's going on. These are who the villains are. This is what they're trying to do. This is what the characters are investigating. And here are some of the key elements from the Newbury and Hobbes stories that we want to bring into play. And then these guys are working on, okay, well, that fits like this with gameplay, and we've got some puzzles that we want to put in. So what sort of situations could Newbury be in that would reflect this puzzle? so we're kind of going back and forth on that and developing it and refining it through the process. So it's definitely a proper collaboration.
Yeah, which is so nice. I mean, it's so rare to have that kind of level of back and forth.
Yeah.
And again, because it's just the three of us. I mean, we've got a few other people waiting in. Some people will announce later who are helping out some stuff. We're very exciting. But because we are the core team, it is there's no red tape, there's no bureaucracy. We just go, right, here's some ideas. George, go, off you go. And it's so fast working this way. I love it.
Yeah. And as well, it means that sometimes when we're having planning meetings, we'll just suddenly evolve a whole concept of like, oh, what if this happened? Oh, yeah, but that thing could happen. Oh, yeah, but then this thing could happen. And then, oh, yeah, and then the way that could work in the game is like this. And that's such a rewarding development process to have that kind of such an organic way of growing both the story and the game at the same time is so rare. I mean, this isn't a case of us buying an IP, licensing an IP and slapping that on top of a game that we've already written. This is very much like this has been grown from the very ground up as being a full collaboration and development.
Yeah, and because of that, I've been able to seed it into other Newbury and Hobbes things that we're doing as well. So I haven't even told these guys this yet, but I managed it. There's a short story that's kind of a prequel to the main story we're telling in this book, and I managed to get that story put into the back of the UK edition of the Revenant Express. So we're setting up some of these characters now. The book that's just coming out is going to lead into the game, so people who read that will be able to recognise, when we announce the full story of the game. So
I just love the fact that this is coming as a surprise to you now, Sophie.
I haven't had a chance to tell them yet. It was a last minute thing. Yeah.
Also, George will also be doing a novella. That's part of it.
Yeah, so I'm going to take that kind of canonical path through the game story and write that as a novella, which we're going to feature as part of the Kickstarter promotion for the
I think what's interesting is that means that people that are fans of the series but don't necessarily want to play the game, because some people don't want to play games. I don't understand them. I don't know them. We don't want to play games. They can read the story and stay filled in.
Yeah.
Also, I think what's lovely is people can play this game, discover this world, and then go back and there's the graphic novels, there's the novels. There's so much people. This is going to be a really nice, interesting mix of people approaching the series in different ways.
Yeah, there's even 3 soundtrack albums as well.
We've been writing to them. They're great.
Yeah. So people can play those albums while they're playing the game as well, and have that atmosphere going.
Which is great. I mean, we spend a good 5 minutes for any game working out a Spotify playlist. So this saves all that work.
So, can you give us any hints about what's going to be happening in this story or the novella?
Go on, George.
Yeah, well, we don't want to give too much away yet, but in good old-fashioned kind of Newbury and Hobbes style, there's a sinister cult that has its roots in ancient Egypt, but it's been tempered by kind of Anglo-Saxon mythology. So it's a kind of strange cult that's on the rise in London, and Newbury and Veronica, and accompanied by Bainbridge and Amelia, who's Veronica's sister, are investigating. Trying to prevent the cult from doing what the dastardly deeds they want to do, and this, I don't want to go too far into kind of the things that feature, because we want to reveal, and we've got some amazing artwork for the cult. Isn't just kind of guys in robes. I think there's a lot more.
We've got one piece of concept art, which I think we're going to accompany this with, I think.
So they take mummies from ancient Egypt, and they put them into brass exoskeletons and reanimate them. So we've got these shambling kind of pseudo-mechanical mummies called the Saved. And that's kind of one of the tools they use in their sinister plans in London.
And we'll leave it there.
I won't give away any more.
Okay, so you mentioned briefly Kickstarter there. When do you plan to take this to Kickstarter?
Summer.
Yeah, summer.
Yes. Provisionally it's summer. We've got some rough dates, but the thing is, as we said, this is a first kind of attempt at all this for us. So we're figuring out exactly how long things take. We're working out all the financial details and everything, all the boring behind-the-scenes stuff that no one really cares about. So we don't want to kind of nail ourselves to a date just yet, but it's summer.
Yeah. We're really determined as well to not run at this with it not being fully planned. So we are making sure that we, cross all the T's, dot all the I's, and make sure that we're doing our research before we take it to Kickstarter. So this isn't a thing where we're just like, oh, I've got an idea, I'll stick it on Kickstarter and see if it works. We're taking this really seriously. We want this to be a really amazing, brilliant game which people can support on Kickstarter and will go to retail afterwards. So it's not something where we're just going to rush at it. So we are being really cautious about that.
I think that's it. We want to deliver everything that we say we're going to deliver, and we want it to be the best quality it can possibly be as well. So this, hopefully it'll feel like a lush product as well.
So in the meantime, where can people go to find out more about either the game or Newbury and Hobbes themselves?
So I'm just this week, so it'll be live when the video goes out. I'm going to launch a Newbury Hobbes Facebook page, which is probably going to be the best place for people to hear information about the project, as well as new Newbury Hobbes stories, places to go to find out about the existing books and comics.
Also, we've got the Needy Cat Games Facebook page, Twitter. You can check out our website.
We shall put the links below, I'm sure, right, Sam?
Yeah. I'm certain we can do that.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And also, of course, George, you're on Twitter.
I'm on Twitter as well, yeah, so people can find me. I'll make sure that you've got the information for that as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's about it. Thank you all very much for coming on board and letting us know about this.
Oh,
Thanks for
having us.
Yeah. Okay. Are you guys fans of Newbury and Hobbes? Are you excited to find out more about this? Please be sure to leave us a comment below. Let us know your thoughts. And we're going to carry on here, and we'll see you in the next one.